Y'all, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Flow Live, y'all. It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Jovonnie, host of the Empire Place, Empire Lives podcast. And I help women who are tired of pushing through pelvic pain finally understand what their bodies are trying to tell them before they lose more years of accepting pain as normal. And I'm with
Destini Marie here of Black Men Feel Pain Too, and I am super excited to be back for another episode of Beyond the Flow. Let's
Yes,
get it.
yo. It's beyond the flow. It's beyond the flow. Uh, uh, it's beyond the flow. Real
There we
talk,
go. That's
real
it.
conversation, real change, real healing. That's it. That's all we got for you, y'all. So here we
That's
go.
it.
Icebreaker. Have you ever ignored your pain because you were too busy trying to be strong for everyone else? That is the question. Have you ever ignored your pain because you were too busy trying to be strong for everyone else? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. I'm gonna post it in the comments. I want y'all to let us know, break the ice, vibe with us. Here we go. Here's the question. Have you ever ignored your pain because you were too busy trying to be strong for everyone else? What you got, Destiny Marie?
I have an absolutely. I'm trying to find your Facebook page, which is why I'm looking down. But absolutely, absolutely, life does not stop just because you have endometriosis. Like life doesn't stop. Period. But when you have, situations going on, school, work, relationships, situationships, whatever it may be, trying to show up for friends, trying to show up for family, you sometimes unfortunately push through, and you pushing through just makes things worse for ourselves because, as we all know, stress is not good for our bodies. And then when you have a condition like endometriosis, which feeds off of inflammation, you're just adding to that overall stress and pain and inflammation and everything else. But absolutely, my answer is yes, yes, unfortunately.
And I'm going to go with an absolute yes as well. I have definitely ignored pain because I was too busy getting through productivity, getting through whatever work tasks, getting through whatever family tasks, whatever goals that were set for that day, just focusing on what I wanted to get accomplished and ignoring the pain, pushing through the pain, thinking that the pain will one day at one moment subside in some way or another. And so I definitely know now that that is nothing that needs to be ignored, and that is definitely not something that should be normalized. Pain is not normal, and when your body is trying to speak to you, the worst thing you can do is ignore it, thinking that everything externally, everything outside of you is something that you should be focused on or should prioritize before you prioritize what's actually happening and how your body's communicating with the pain. So I'm with it. If you all can resonate with this, if you catch the replay, and if you are watching it live right now, we want you to check in with this question. Have you ever ignored your pain because you were too busy trying to be strong for everyone else? You can hit us with a yes or no, or you could just let us know what that looked like for you or how you're still doing it, because it could easily be something we're still doing to this day. And this is
Everything.
a safe space. This is a safe space, no shame, raw. We having real conversation, real connection. So we just want you to vibe with us. All
And that
right.
icebreaker actually piggybacks off of last week's topic of daily habits.
Mm.
Because you again, everybody's life is different, and we're all in different stages. All of our relationships look differently. So that could also be a part of daily habits. You're showing up again, whether that's for a spouse or your job or whatever it may be. So yeah, this icebreaker definitely piggybacks off of last week when we talk about daily habits. And then, are they helping your healing or are they hurting your healing?
And I honestly believe, Destiny, too, we're building on something. So if you missed last week's episode, y'all, every other week we go live either here on YouTube or we are on TikTok. Destiny, what's the channel? What's the channel on TikTok called?
Oh, at Black Women Feel Pain Too.
There you go. So make sure y'all are following at Black Women Feel Pain 2. Black Women Feel Pain 2 on TikTok. Wellness with Jovonnie also on TikTok, but you'll see it on her live just like you see her right now on my channel. But we're going to also tag Destini as a collaborator. So this will also show up on her YouTube as well. So check the show notes. It's our little plug. Check the show notes. Make sure you connect with us on your favorite social media platform. All right. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you connect with us on your favorite platform in the show notes. So we getting into this topic today, Destini Marie.
Yes.
What we talking about?
Food.
We are definitely talking about food, y'all. We're talking about when food becomes a coping mechanism. And before we really get into the conversation, let's just start there. Have you ever used food as a coping mechanism? Let us know. Just type the word food in the comments if you're watching right now, or in the replay, drop the word food so we know what part of the segment you landed on. But have you used food as a mechanism? What's your go-to food?
So I'm an emotional eater, and I love my sweets and I love my chocolate. So if something's happening or if I'm just in the mood for something, I'm gonna go grab me some chocolate.
So I'm not a huge chocolate person. I can be an emotional eater as well, but I'm not a huge chocolate person at all. I do love sweets though. I am definitely one who likes sugar. Like I grew up on sugary food, sugary drinks. So the Kool-Aids, the sweet teas, the lemonades, which have more sugar than lemon, more sugar than the aid, and definitely cakes. I absolutely love cakes. My favorite cake that I used to have for Thanksgiving would be marble cake, where we take the cream cheese, vanilla ice cream icing, and mix it with the chocolate icing on top of like a good yellow cake. Oh my goodness. I'll have a whole to-go tray of that. And take that back to college with me where the stress levels were high, and I would just take it out on that cake. So I too have had experience with being an emotional eater as well. Stress, also just like sadness, sometimes as well could reach for a certain item. But definitely the sugar, the sweets for me. Paydays, Rice Krispie treats. Oh my goodness, yes. I am a weak one for the paydays as an emotional eater, or just someone who's just looking to eat through some form of emotion, even if it's just excitement. You know what I mean? Like I can still do that too. So y'all let us know if you are an emotional eater. What's your go-to when it comes to that? So today, y'all, we are talking about when food becomes a mechanism. So you're looking at her. This is me, Jovonnie. I am the one who pushed through pelvic pain, bloating, mood swings, and stayed in relationships and routines that slowly drained me. And I just want you to know that you're not lazy, you're not broken or too emotional. Sometimes your body is just inflamed, overwhelmed, and begging for a new rhythm. Over 10 years ago, I thought I was healthy, but I was ignoring the signs. And this is taken from somebody who had the health degrees, the health certifications. Like I really thought I was healthy, but the painful periods, the painful bowel movements, the mood swings, I had a strong relationship with dairy, sugar, processed foods. They were my comfort. They could be my reward, but I wasn't managing stress. I was only surviving. And no one ever asked me how food, stress, and silence were inflaming everything, like my gut, my hormones, my emotions. It's not just about symptoms, how your body's talking to you, what your body is communicating. It's the emotional toll of not being believed sometimes about your pain, or just saying that your pain is normal, not getting real answers, and then feeling like you got to fix it all alone or fix it all at the same time. I'm going to say my surgery lasted about 4 hours long, Destini, when I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis in March 2020, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, and they also found 2 small fibroids. And I realized how much my lifestyle was costing me my health and fueling my pain. I had no idea my lifestyle played a part in how I was feeling and all of the chaos that was going on inside of my body after seeing what was really happening, the images. I don't know about you, if you got your images after surgery, but seeing all of the images, seeing, understanding what all reconstruction had to happen with my fallopian tubes being stuck together, the large cyst on my right ovary, where they had to, clean so much chocolate cyst off of so many different organs. And so I really got to a point where in my journey that I was like, you know what? I think people are underestimating the power of their daily habits, their lifestyle, their routines. And so I created this 15 hidden disruptors guide and document, because I think that people don't understand that we're quietly stealing our energy and fueling inflammation. And if you've never heard of endometriosis, adenomyosis, they're pretty much conditions where there's deep inflammation and it's causing a lot of chaos in your body, and it's showing up in various ways. And so the three disruptors that we're talking about today, because we're talking about food, is dairy dependence, processed comfort foods, and then sugar overload. And so we didn't talk about the dairy earlier. We talked about the sugar and the icebreaker, but you rely on dairy for comfort, but it secretly triggers your bloating, your cramps, your hormones. I used to be the type of person that would tell the waiter at Olive Garden just to leave the cheese grater at the table. Like, it would never be enough cheese. I could eat cheese out of the bag at times, even cheese just straight off the block. Like, I was a Lunchable person. Sometimes give me extra cheese on my Lunchable crackers. But dairy can be inflammatory, especially for those with hormonal imbalances. It's mucus forming and can trigger
Yes.
proglandins that worsen your period pain. So even if you're someone who wants to minimize the dairy, like, do your best not to have the dairy around your cycle or the week of your cycle, leading up to your cycle, just to be mindful of it. But I just wanted you to know that dairy could also cause harm, especially since we're going into the holidays and there might be a lot of dairy in certain cultural dishes. But letting go of the dairy isn't just a physical thing, it's also emotional, because we can be emotional eaters and go for the cheese, go for the Alfredo, go for the mac and cheese. But it's
Yes.
really about choosing peace over comfort. And I found some delicious alternatives to dairy. I just made some rotel the other day, and I used a soaked cashew sauce for it. And it didn't even take me long to come up with it. And it was actually good. Like, it was enjoyable. So sometimes you just have to find something when it comes to your daily healing and rhythm. Did you ever have any dairy dependence for you, Destiny? Because I know last time we talked about not
Yes,
being plant-based.
I am. So I was thinking about after I said that because I still kind of sort of am, but that's totally off topic. But anyways, yeah, I right after when we talk about sweets and chocolate, immediately right under that is like bread and ice cream. Because when we go back into the emotional eating, it doesn't matter if I'm happy, I'm sad, something positive just happened. One of my go-to things, if I wasn't able to go get some chocolate, I would go down to Dairy Queen and go get me a Blizzard. And
Oh,
so
wait, what's your favorite Blizzard?
cookie dough.
It was mine too, with whipped cream. That was my favorite when I used to get
Oh
there. Go ahead.
yes,
Go
yes.
ahead.
And so I that was one of the things that I did notice also is with the dairy, especially in that luteal phase and menstrual stage. Adding that dairy into the diet or just consuming large amounts of dairy or sweets or whatever it is during those two phases particularly, definitely exacerbated pain or just made symptoms worse that probably wouldn't have been as bad if I didn't add all of these toxins into my body. So yeah, dairy was a big one for me, and I'm like big on cheese too, but I was also the same way. Go to Olive Garden. No, just keep going. Like
Tell me
there
when to
is no
stop, and you don't
yeah
say it.
there is no stop. What do you mean stop? There's no stop. Keep going with the cheese. But you have to learn over time, number one, once you start recognizing these triggers and these symptoms, and you start recognizing what foods you're able to have and what foods you're not able to have, that's when you start tracking these symptoms, and that's when you start tracking these triggers. Now, do I still go get me some ice cream if something bad happens or something good happens in my life, or if I just want some ice cream? Yes, I'm going to go get me some ice cream. I'm going to go get me some ice cream, but definitely everything in moderation. And instead of getting a small or a medium, I might just go get a mini. Just might go get a mini because I don't need all of that. Or instead of getting a king size Snickers, we're just gonna get the regular size Snickers. So it just goes back to, just knowing your body, being mindful of your triggers, being mindful of your symptoms, but when you're also being mindful, like, what are you doing about it? Are you continuing to put these inflammatory foods in your system? Are you going to continue to like rapidly consume all of these? Are you going to space it out? Are you only going to have, some during your luteal phase or some during your follicular phase? Like, how are you actually managing it? So when we talk about foods and we talk about dairies and sugars and processed foods, that's a whole nother topic, especially being like both of our backgrounds being in health. Like, I can go on and on and on and on about processed foods, but if we're going to moderate, our sweets and our dairy, there's definitely ways to do that. And then also tracking your symptoms. Like with dairy, for me, for example, it would just cause me to have more pelvic pain, especially in the luteal phase. And if I did have some ice cream or some macaroni and cheese or some Alfredo or something like that in my menstrual phase, I would definitely notice the bowel symptoms and then the pelvic pain. So just paying attention to these things and knowing, oh, I did this, this is what's causing, X, Y, and Z.
I definitely saw once I took dairy out of my system, of my lifestyle, my dietary lifestyle, I definitely my period pain definitely decreased astronomically.
Hmm.
The painful bowel movements decreased. My period actually regulated. I was someone who didn't always have a period every single month. Sometimes I'll skip a month. Sometimes there was one time, I think 2007, I skipped 3 months and never had a period, and then it was always, oh, well, you were just stressed out or you're going through some changes or things, it was always a way to validate what was not normal to making me feel like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
well, it's not something I need to even be talking about. And so I agree with you when it comes to like the dairy and the menstrual cycle, it just wreaks a lot of havoc. And then I also remember at times, I never had a lot of skin issues, but with the sugar and the dairy, especially the sugar, my eczema patches would start to show up. With the dairy, I could start seeing a little bit more of like bumps and
Hmm.
things of that nature. And then I don't know if you experienced this too, Destiny. It might be too much out there, but boils. I once I got rid of the dairy and the meat, I don't even experience boils anymore. And I had experienced some boils before, and I've known family members to experience them too. And I started to see that there's a linkage from hormones,
Hmm.
dairy, meat that's also causing, has an impact on the boils forming and that
Right.
experience as well. And then you kind of talked about it too about the processed foods. And most people may not even realize what processed foods are, but processed foods are really tied to the culture and survival.
Right.
Like they're the quick go
Yes.
to foods already packaged. You don't have that to do but so much. Sometimes just add water. You know what I mean? There's so less you have to do to hurry up and make that food ready. But it has a lot of things like the hidden disruptors, the seed oils, the additives, the preservatives, the bioengineered ingredients, like so many different things are in our processed foods, and they really hijack our hormones and inflame our gut. And we kind of get that short-term relief of, oh, now I got a meal, and I got a meal that it didn't take me that long to have, or
Come
I
on
got me a
now.
snack and now I feel full.
Yes.
But then it does nothing for our long-term pain or
Right.
our vitality. What that food is now fueling on the inside of our body when it comes to our organs and how our body works and functions, and how some of those ingredients are being communicated with when it comes to our systems. Like everybody's body isn't the same, and so it's different. And sometimes when you grow up with these types of foods, with processed foods, the snacks, the meals, the quick things that we can throw in the freezer, we have a pantry full of them, or we have them at family events. We never really knew that they weren't that good for us. We just knew
Right.
it came with a good time, a good moment. It was convenient and it's flavorful. And so sometimes they are fueling the cycle of fatigue or the brain fog or the bloating or the pelvic pain. And I think we don't give it enough attention that it should hold. And we should be mindful of said ingredients, because once you choose to unlearn what survival mode taught you, you really start creating space for real healing, and it's healing based on what you feel isn't aligned with you. What you gonna say,
Right.
Destiny?
And especially with like our generation, because there has been a study out recently, like there's a lot more people under the age of 40, especially Black men and women, who are getting colon cancer. And there has just been a study that's been published because, these doctors and these scientists are trying to figure out, like, why all of a sudden are these 20-year-olds and these 30-year-olds getting colon cancer? Like, why are they getting colon cancer? And there was such a study published that they're thinking that there's a link between all of the processed foods. Now, when I think of how I grew up and the foods that were in my house, like, that's what I grew up on primarily. Yes, my mom cooked, but we did have a lot of processed foods, those quick meals in the house. We were never a really big family that was big on fast food. That really wasn't, a big concern of ours. But when we talk about processed foods, those quick meals, so even though we're just talking about endometriosis and the hormones now in today's society, this long link of, we've been eating these processed foods for the last 20, 30, 40 years, what has that actually done to our body? And now it's causing, colon cancer, which obviously is not good, cancer of any form. So just being mindful. And you do make a good point about processed foods and fast food sometimes being our survival thing, and it's not to ever put anybody down of anybody's situation, but just being mindful. I think mindful is going to be the word of the night. Just being mindful of, you don't have to go and get, the double cheeseburger. You don't have to get, the large or the dessert or whatever it is. There are option choices. If that's your only option, there are options available at these establishments that you can choose. But I wanted to point on that, on processed foods, and then I also wanted to point on when you were saying you were listing out all of, like, the additives that are in these foods. It takes me so long to go grocery shopping because I am checking the back of everything that I pick up. I am checking the ingredients. I don't ever see anybody in the stores. Like, when I go grocery shopping, I don't ever see anybody looking at the back of the labels as much as I look at the back of the labels. I'm looking at the back of the labels of everything. Even my almond milk, I'm looking at the back. If they don't have the brand that I normally get, okay, well, look, what's in this one? Oh, nope, I'm not doing that. I just made a meal in the crock pot the other day, and I didn't feel like making homemade gravy. And so I just went and bought some packed gravy. But I'm in the sauce aisle looking at the back of the packs of gravy because I'm not buying. There was so many packs of gravy out there that had all these gums and gelatin in them. Why do I need gravy with
Girl,
gums
why do
and
you even
gelatin
need
in it?
gum in your milk? I didn't even know that until I was going into the store and I
Yes.
was doing a whole like
Yes.
store thing and I was looking at the ingredients, talking to people about it, and it was a whole thing. And I was like, I don't even go in the store like that. Like, I know what I want now. I just Instacart it and keep it moving. But when I was doing it, I was like, why do you even need gum in your milk? Like, what's happening right now? And so and I was talking about those things, and people are like, well, I didn't know that's the milk that I typically get. I thought because it was plant-based, it was better because it wasn't real dairy.
Right,
And it's like,
right,
even
right.
those things, and it takes time. And I'm glad you said
Yes.
mindful. It takes time to build up there. I had to remind myself, I think it was either today or yesterday, Destiny. I was like, I am not here to speak to someone who's in the same level as I am. I'm talking to the person 10 years ago, the person who didn't even realize that lifestyle had any impact on how they're feeling and what chronic conditions have now shown up in their body because of the long-term habits that you had that you didn't even know could be causing you pain. And you talked about the studies that are now showing about colon
Mhm.
cancer and getting it at such a young age. And I was talking to one of my students about one of the snacks that he was bringing in. It was the same type of chips. I won't name it because it's for the culture in regards to those chips. And I like the barbecuing ones back in the day as well, but it had bioengineered ingredients in it. And I was talking to him about it. And we do the ingredients, we look at it, and then I even talked to him about what that looks like long term. And I was like, so I'm all for it because I used to eat the same ones, but now either I don't eat them or they're in moderation. And so, like, the next day,
Yes.
he came with a different snack, and I was like, oh, look at you. And so sometimes when people know what it could cost them,
Mm-hmm.
they're willing to make a different decision because there's still a cost that comes with it,
Right.
whether the
Right.
cost of inaction or the cost of changing your decision and doing something differently. And you said the cancer word too, and that definitely comes from a lot of processed foods, but it also comes from a lot of sugar. Sugar feeds cancer, and if you don't even know that it's in your body, you don't know what you're feeding. And so just being more mindful. But I'm gonna be honest, Destiny, if I didn't get the chronic condition diagnoses that I had, yes, I've known other people that have had different health journeys and disparities and might even have, passed away because of complications to their health. But when it hits personal, when it hits your door, like, it makes you think about life differently, see things differently, especially if you know you're playing a part in your pain,
Mm-hmm.
in the inflammation. And so I think for both of us, had we not got that pain that was so debilitating, and then there was a name to that pain, to that dis-ease that showed up in our body, we wouldn't be here today advocating on behalf of that, sharing our stories, creating space for other people to understand what's not normal, and to educate them on some of the things that we've normalized over time that could be harmful. And we talked about sugar, and we already talked about, the impacts of sugar overload as well. But too much sugar raises your cortisol. That's for men and for women, and it worsens insulin resistance, and it also fuels craving. So if you already think you're craving something and you get the sweet dessert, you heard Destiny say, get the mini blizzard. Like, sometimes it makes you go back and get more of it because it's never satisfied, because there's something deeper than just that craving that you're trying to address that the sugar just won't help. And so I think that's what is really sometimes causing people's energy and burning their emotions, and they don't know it's deeper than just the craving for the blizzard or the craving for the payday. Like, it's a little bit more than, or just the cake, when it comes to those emotions. And if you're not truly reaching and trying to dig a little deeper to understand that, then that could potentially be a problem. And so I'm really glad that we talked about these three things, because I feel like right now, at the time of this recording, we are in the holidays. We're ending the year off, and we're around family, and we're around friends, and there might be some foods that we have some decisions to make. And how are we going to mindfully show up, especially if we're in that fatigue state, or we're experiencing pelvic pain regularly, too much that we want something else to change. And we just want you to be a little bit more mindful. The word is mindful, but it's also in moderation. You don't have to totally just give up these things, but really being mindful of how often you're consuming them and your why behind it. So I have my why, Destiny has her why. Our journeys look totally different, but at the end of the day, we want you to be on your intentional healing journey. We want you to make different decisions that's going to help you push from survival mode into thriving mode. We want you to not be in pain or any type of dis-ease. And so that's why we want to come and show up every single Monday, having real conversation about real healing, because we want you to experience real change. And that's the whole reason why we do what we do. And so, Destiny, that's really what I wanted to kind of talk about in regards to those, what I call 3 hidden lifestyle disruptors: the sugar overload, the dairy dependence, and the processed foods. Because I feel like those 3, I had no idea they were in my regular day habits, had anything to do with how it was actually hurting me more than it was helping me to live like that on a regular day basis, especially now being diagnosed with endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and having 2 small fibroids at the time of my surgery.
Yeah, I highly recommend anybody who's watching this, and this is how because it wasn't even my diagnosis. I highly recommend everybody go and watch What the Health on Netflix. What the Health on Netflix is really where it started for me. And I watched What the Health in 2018, and then that's when I learned so much. I was so fascinated about the documentary and the things. I just learned a lot. So I just highly recommend that everybody goes and watch What the Health on Netflix. And that could just even be a starting point, because it was a starting point for me. And so when we know better, we do better. And when we have the education, we can make better informed decisions about our life. And so when we make these better informed decisions, just tying it all back together, we're just making sure we're tracking our symptoms and we're watching, again, if we talk about the dairy during that luteal phase, or that dairy during that menstrual stage, okay, I know that I had dairy, and all of a sudden I'm experiencing this pelvic pain, or all of a sudden my back is hurting, or all of a sudden I'm bloated for 3 days. Like, these are things that you need to pay attention to. So when you're making these informed decisions, and you're going to the grocery store and you're buying these groceries, or you're going out to eat, or whatever it is, you're just being mindful of your symptoms and your triggers. But I highly recommend everybody go watch What the Health on Netflix. It's very insightful and it's very eye-opening. And I promise you will learn a lot. And you won't look at the world the same. Because I definitely, after I watched What the Health, I don't look at the world the same.
I think for me it was fat, sick, and nearly dead. And it was getting into all of like the green juices and juicing to really like lose the weight because they were like morbidly obese. I think that documentary, I saw that one before What the Health. When I saw What the Health, I was like, I was already pescatarian. I was like, okay, let's stay with the changes. I'm okay to stay here, no going back. Like, I'm all right with that. And then getting the diagnosis, I was more intentional about it. Like, one of my OBGYN sorority sisters told me that diet could help. So that's where I started. I had to change my thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs around food, and looked at how could it be of help for me. And on that journey, I started understanding, taking out the dairy, taking out the gluten. Gluten does not do well with me and my painful bowel movements, that and sugar. And so I saw a change with that as well. And then I got into Game Changers. That documentary helped me stay on the plant-based journey and empowered it even more. So I'm really glad that you talked about those documentaries and just getting more information from outside sources. So you're not just hearing people talk about it and then you have nothing to bring about. So good shout outs to you with the studies, bringing in the studies, the statistics, and then the outside things that we've consumed educational wise that have impact us in some way, shape, form, or fashion based on our decisions, our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs in regards to how we're navigating that. And so I appreciate you for that. And I just want to remind y'all too, like, this isn't about shame or strict diets. It's all about awareness. It's about honoring your rhythm and restoring your peace. This is not a one size fits all approach. Like, it's your healing, it's your journey, and it's about aligning with your body, your story, and your nervous system. So I'm good on the topic, Destiny. What about you?
Yes, I am good. And last thing, and this is actually what's crazy. This week we're talking about food. So every Saturday we release a new blog post. Although this past Saturday was our last blog post of the year, but our topic this week was holistic approaches to treating endometriosis. So that's actually what is on the blog right now, and I have so many resources, so many blog posts on my website, www.blackwomenfeelpain2.com. There's so many resources on there, but specifically this week when we talk about holistic approaches to treating and managing endometriosis and chronic pain. So there's plenty of information out there. I use my platform and my voice and my website really just to bring awareness and to educate. So if you have a moment, go to the website, read the blog post, the one specifically from this week. So we're talking about food and holistic approaches. And then as we wrap up this holiday season, just making mindful choices.
I like it. And y'all, you can check her website and all the ways to connect with her in the show notes. You'll see Destini Marie. All the links are there for you to be able to connect, follow up, lock into the blog, and learn more about Destini Marie, her platform, and everything that she's doing. Y'all, I created the Spot Your Triggers quiz to help you identify what's quietly keeping you stuck in the cycle of pain, fatigue, and inflammation. It's not just a regular quiz. It's your first step in your empowered healing journey, a moment to pause, to listen, and to get clarity. This quiz isn't about what you've been doing wrong. It's about learning what your body's been trying to tell you. It's about starting fresh, not in survival, but in rhythm. So check the show notes for the Spot Your Triggers quiz. And these were just 3 out of the 15 hidden lifestyle disruptors. In the show notes, you'll also see a link to the hidden 15 hidden lifestyle disruptors guide, and we talked about some of them today. And so I just want you to give you an idea of what this looks like. And we talked about these 3 today, and the why behind them, why it matters, and also some insights on how you can make those swaps. And so if you want, you can also get that guide as well. All right, you can get that guide as well. It is in the show notes. So Destiny, it looks like I'm losing the lights. It looks like the lights are coming on down in regards to today's live. So, y'all, I think they're trying to let us know that it's time to wrap this thing up. So, y'all, your body's not betraying you. It's trying to protect you. You don't need more willpower. You need more rhythm, rest, and respect for what your body is already holding. Pushing through is not your purpose. Listening is your liberation. So tonight, choose to listen. Choose to listen and choose to connect with us on all of our platforms and continue to go and vibe with us on this journey. All right, y'all. It's been another episode of Beyond the Flow. Real conversation, real healing, real change. Thanks for vibing with us, y'all.
Bye.